Ray Bartz. John Warren.
That whole team was phenomenal. It's very hard to talk about it unless you were there and you experienced it yourself.
Australia attacking, it's a goal! Great goal by Otiaboni in the opening second of the second half.
Everybody forgets that they were a part-time team trying to compete in a tournament that only had 16 of the world's best in at that point in time. And for Australia to ever think about playing in a World Cup was really a dream. So to qualify in 74 where teams like England, Czechoslovakia and so many teams didn't qualify, and we did, was enormous. That was just unthinkable.
Well, this is the first division soccer scene in Australia today. The standards go still far removed from Manchester United or Real Madrid. And still, the players who are providing the fans with their Sunday afternoon entertainment are, in the main, of British or European origin.
Just after the war, we had all this massive inflow of immigrants, and there was all different nationalities. Nearly every club had a team. Input of the ethnics at that time was unbelievable to the culture. And you know, those guys were all hard-working guys that came in, they did the job, played. Lots of characters amongst them, right?
I started in 1959. I was in the junior club of the OFK Belgrade. After so many bad lucks and so many things, people tried to put me down. I just was hoping that something will come that I can go. Australia come through former Footscray JVST coach, and I decided to come to Australia.
I left my parents. I can remember waving goodbye on the train station in Preston, saying, "Don't worry, Mum, don't worry, Dad, I'll be back in 2 years' time." And of course, the next time they saw me was walking onto the ground against West Germany, and Beckenbauer's, Voits, Overmars, all these great, fantastic players.
Jimmy Kelly, his name was, he coached South Coast United when they won the grand final in 1964, I think. He saw me playing for Preston North in youth grade. Next minute he said to me, "I'd like to take you to Australia." And so he brought me, and I arrived in January 68, January 28. So that's my Australia day.
The Australian soccer team under coach Ruddy Rasic began its quest for the 1974 World Cup against New Zealand at Newmarket Stadium in Auckland.
I became state coach. I won title with Footscray, and I set the goals called winning. I introduced a discipline that you have never, ever, ever experienced.
Lofting it is Mackay, comes to Richards, shoots a goal!
He was an absolute genius for us to do what he did. He had this influence, you know, he would talk to you and you'd run through brick walls for him, you know, and that was the kind of character he was, and everybody just loved the man.
Rooney beats Nuri, Alston's there with a head.
When Rasic took over, we went a completely different outlook on everything, and he always used to look at the guy, not just the player.
Goal! Alston again.
I first got picked in 69. We played against Greece, and Joe Vlasic was the coach then. Uncle Joe, we used to call him, lovely man. He's reading the team out on the Saturday, and it went right through, and then he goes, "Alston, number 11, you know." And he went, "How do you feel about that?" I said, "Well, that's my English career's out the window now. I can't play for England." As soon as I put that shirt on, I realised I'm an Aussie, that's it. It's a funny feeling. You just can't explain. Putting the green and gold on, and that's it forever, you know.
Somebody moving in front there. I think it's no, that's the move. It's on. Alston, a goal. Number 9, Alston. Well,
I took them on 15 matches tour around the world. And so we really progressed and we were maturing.
We played all these funny places, and he put us through hell.
We're preparing now, or Australia is preparing now for 74. So this is the idea, to get them to change of climate, change of food, and be able to play again and still get the result, which they did. So I think we've learned a lot there.
how about the length of the tour? As a player, did you find it just a little too long?
Yes, I did. I did find it too long.
it was hard to go and lose all your jobs, because obviously it wasn't full-time then. So it cost us all money. I lost 4 jobs playing for Australia.
We had a bit of everything. There was labourers, there was coal miners, I was a sales rep.
I can tell you a story from Mumford Chover, where he was a fitness fanatic. He was a milkman. He used to run every morning to carry the milk to the people. So Mumford was not the most gifted one in skill, but he would like to play against him. It was tough.
Whose head's there? Alston.
Chin.
Goal!
It was a tough existence, you know, it was hard going, but we relished it and we enjoyed it.
Nice ball. Alston for nodding it down to shot for Birds. And a goal, a great goal!
To play for my country was a great honour. The team that qualified for the 1974 World Cup, the nucleus of that team came together in 1967 on a tour of Vietnam, and you had to bond, you had to stick together, you had to get on, because there wasn't much else you could do over there and the conditions were pretty tough and pretty primitive.
Actually going into Vietnam during the height of the war, why they ever sent a team there is just beyond me.
Last night at Mascot Airport there was a reception which, according to one official, was the biggest thing since the Beatles. It was the welcome to the Australian soccer team, which has just returned home with the Vietnam National Day Cup. Travelling with the team was the ABC soccer commentator Martin Royal. Martin, what was it like?
Well, Bill, at times pretty horrible, but not all the time. We had a lot of fun. We had a lot of happy moments, and we came back with some very happy memories. We were, of course, a winning team.
It really bonded us to be in that situation, because we used to train on the roof of the hotel. There was gunshots going off in the back street. I think that was the grounding of this bond that is so strong within the Socceroos.
Tolson to Richards. An easy goal, surely. Number 5. Australia, who were held to a draw by New Zealand in that opening match, have since recovered to amass enough points to win the series. Vucinovic, number 2. St George right back. Swings it. Go by the header in. A goal! Wilson. Wilson, the captain.
Peter Wilson was the best captain that Australia's ever had.
You get captains that will scream and shout. He'd always encourage you in the nicest possible way. Peter was never too rough. Brilliant temperament, and he would be reading the game as you read the book.
Technically very good for a big lad, but off the park he was slightly different.
Peter was always different. He was always had a different attitude of life, and funny, and great player, good man. As Johnny Warren captain as well. Wonderful, wonderful players, you know.
Well, after the tour, what are our chances for the World Cup, as you see them?
Excellent, really. You know, we have nothing to fear from anybody in Asia at the moment, you know.
A lot of people thought John was going to be the captain, and John probably felt, in fact, he said he stated it publicly, he felt he should have been, because he was doing most of the captain's work off the field.
I was captain and I was injured. I was out for 18 months of the game, and now I'm not captain. When I was captain, I took it as a great responsibility. Now I don't.
Peter Wilson on the field was 10 times better captain than Warren, and Warren was 30 times better captain off the field. Warren himself is probably one of the most deserving people for development of football in this country. But Johnny was a symbol of the game.
Johnny Warren was exactly the opposite. Really well-educated guy. His speeches were absolutely spot on. Peter never liked the attention. He didn't like making speeches and all that and that.
He had all the ingredients of the old-fashioned centre-half, but Willie was the captain. Willie took that very seriously. You know, he picked up the ball on the way out, and you just look and you think, yeah, we're right.
But if you're going to be sensitive about crowds like that, it raises the question of how you're going to go against Korea.
No, I think it'll be a lot easier from here on in. I think Korea will be an easier proposition than Iran.
I thought once we pass Iran, you know, I thought we had a very good chance because we had always good result with the Korea.
Valley, I don't think I've ever seen you quite so confident.
Well, I promised to you last time, you said one word, if we do beat Iran. I said this time we have to do it and we will do it. I'm very confident because the boys know it, that they will do.
To my surprise, I think Korea gave us a really good run.
The first game was in Sydney. A lot of expectation on the team. We were pretty flat. We just couldn't get into the game, but we managed to come away with a 0-0 draw.
So that's the bad news for Australia. 2 goals down.
Then to go to South Korea,
Can't get it across.
just before half-time we were down 2-0.
An Australian head, and it's a goal.
We got back to 2-1 at half-time, and then I scored just after half-time to make it 2-2.
Get the ball in, it's a goal. Yes! Yes!
There was no away goal rule in those days. We weren't sure what was going to happen. It was only until later that night the management come to us and said the deciding game's been deemed to be played in Hong Kong in 2 or 3 days' time.
That game, I mean, we were psychologically, we were in advantage, plus physically, really we were unlucky not to win by more goals.
After 10 minutes, I tell Raleigh they can't beat us. They haven't got the strength, the physical strength to lead us.
At no stage did we ever feel like we were going to lose that game.
It's very, very sad that Jimmy Mackay passed away early in life, because nobody can ever forget the goal that he scored to put us in the World Cup finals.
Headed to Rooney, shot coming in.
Probably moment after the game when we went to hotel, that was probably the best moment in my life. You know, when new baby is born, you know, when he's in the nicely tucked in and warm, that's how I felt it, like, you know.
What chance do you think we have in Munich?
What chance is anybody else? I think that our team is too much underrated, and these players are treated as underdogs. Australia will show in Germany definitely 100% determination and will to win. Many teams are trying to build this up. We have that in our team inbuilt already.
Just before we were to go to Germany for the World Cup, we played 2 warm-up games against Uruguay, one in Melbourne and then followed by the game in Sydney. The Uruguayans became very frustrated, very dirty. Every tackle was meant to hurt. Then all of a sudden, I received a blow across the throat. I went back, played the second half with no after effects at this stage.
And then in the 59th minute came the goal from Ray Barch that turned the tide Australia's way.
After the game, I started to feel a little bit funny, and through the night I woke up and I couldn't move my left arm and my left leg. I virtually had a stroke.
So there's no hope of you playing in the World Cup soccer at all? No, definitely not, unfortunately.
If the Australian team was playing now, Ray Barch would be in midfield. Without a doubt, one of the best. He had it all.
We are going to the World Cup without our greatest player of all time. Not possible to replace men like that. No way. It was our Gerd Miller or Johan Cruyff.
We've got to give Mr. Rasic the pat on the back here, because he was told he can only take so many players to the World Cup, and he wanted to take Ray.
Because I said, Barch goes irrespective what happened. And Arthur said, over my dead body. That's what Arthur said. And I said, when is funeral?
And that's left us, again, one short, but it was wonderful. It was wonderful for him to be there.
Behind me, the sweeping lines of Hamburg's Volkspark Stadium, where in a few hours' time, Australian soccer will go on show to the world.
It was a Herculean effort, and even some of the boys had to drop out of the squad to go because of work commitments.
I had a security company, I had partners involved. Every time we went overseas, the business lost money. Consequently, I didn't go. So that's the reason I didn't go. And do I regret it? Every morning when I wake up. Every time one of you blokes asks me. And I've been asked a million times.
Now, to be quite honest, when I heard that draw on the radio, I'll never forget, I was driving to work in Sydney, and they said you're in the same group as East Germany, West Germany and Chile. I have to be honest, I don't mean to sound negative, but I thought we're going to get hammered. Chile were second behind Brazil back in them days. East Germany never lost a game in 3 years, I think, up to that point. We knew what West Germany were like. They won the European Championships 2 years earlier in '72, and here we are, a bunch of Aussie kids that were amateurs going to the World Cup.
Do you have any definite idea how Australia will play as such, what your tactics will be?
We may predict one aspect, that we will be forced on defense. We would be forced because this is the strength of our opponents.
From Switzerland, when we played 3 matches, we flew to Hamburg
That was sort of something like, if I could use the word, Hollywood for our players who have never seen, let alone that many spectators. It's that many media men from all over the world. It was massive introduction. Absolutely memorable that wherever you go, if you go to the moon, that week in Hamburg was so special.
So a big moment for the Socceroos from Australia as they kick off in their first match here in Hamburg against East Germany. Australia wearing yellow shirts and green shorts.
There were a lot of questions. What are Kangaroos doing here? What is their role? Till 59 minutes, we played very well. We defended brilliantly. We were very well composed. We won support of every supporter, was it East German or whatever, and of course, number of Australians there. We won the public, and apologies to Kangaroos were massive.
A tremendous resistance by the Australians for nearly an hour, in which they made the East Germans look uncomfortable, to say the least.
To be with your teammates all that time and then to be at the biggest event in the world, that was the best, honestly. Just to be in the dressing room with your teammates and look at everybody and, wow, we've made it. We were getting off the bus and they were already warming up. And I said to the teammates, I said, they'll be knackered by the time we get ready. So anyhow, everybody walked that way and I walked left. And I went over and I saw Franz Beckenbauer. And I went, swap shirts after. And he went, what number are you? Just like that. And I said, don't worry, I'll be near you.
Oh, they had a lot of respect for us because you know why? Because I never experienced players of the Australian mentality and physical attributes because we never stopped running, we never give up.
We were equal because our objective was to create 12 men. 12 men is not a coach or one who is off the field. 12 men was extra running, 2 men on the ball instead of 1v1 all the time and so on. We held them so well.
And 0-0 against Chile. Yeah, we got 1 point, which, to be honest with you, that is just unbelievable. So I think we did exceptionally well. And playing the game of football was, for me, the epitome of life.
I was proud of going to the World Cup finals, but not nearly as proud as I was of being involved with the players who were there. They were a fantastic group of people.
I've heard an opinion expressed by a man who's dealt with a lot of sporting teams, and he said that the spirit of the Australian soccer team is probably the best of all sporting teams in Australia.
I think so, yeah, I agree with you. Incredible, it really is.
Australia those days had about 80 million population. You know, to represent the country, and all shivers come to you, like, and you feel like you got a big brick on your back, you know?
And everybody goes on now about Premier League and how good it is to play there. Obviously it is because of the wages. But if you're looking at the difference between the Premier League, any league in the world, and putting your shirt on and playing in the World Cup, there's nothing can compare. Nothing.
So Arthur, how's this win in Hong Kong going to affect the popularity of soccer in Australia?
Well, I think it's achieved the first step which is necessary to the stabilisation of soccer as a major sport. It's created a national image.
We invented the name Socceroos. Not that it's our choice to invent the name, it just came along from the reporter. But I think we should be remembered as a whole because we are such a squad, and I said a squad, not a team, a squad of players who are that close.
And just look at that crowd! The goal we've been waiting for!
We'd like to be remembered as one.
From my point of view, to give me privilege at my age of 34 to be a coach, to make a most professional outfit ever. I didn't look for the dual citizenship either. Outright, I took Australian citizenship and I'm not regretting that. I'm so proud and will be proud till I'm gone because it's the greatest human privilege in the world.
We're all very emotional, quite honestly, about the Socceroos, and I don't want to sound rude, but it's hard to describe to an outsider the actual culture that was developed inside that squad, because we were thick. We were a band of brothers.
Ray Richards.
And what we developed over those years will never be found again.